everyone and welcome to today's video. First I need to say I don't know if I've fully figured out the lighting in this room. I kind of look like I'm telling ghost stories in a dark room and I've got a spotlight on me or like a torch or something. I don't know if it looks the best, but we're gonna manage. We are. But today's a fun video that I've been excited to film, which is every single book that I read in 2023 wrapped up in one sentence. So I'm gonna do quick rapid fire reviews of every single book that I read this year, which was 80 books. I'm gonna try and keep it to one sentence. I am a rambler, so we'll see how that goes. I have my phone ready and Goodreads up, so it's time for the reviews. The first book that I read in 2023 was A Study in Charlotte, and I had been looking forward to this book for so long. I remember hearing about it on BookTube and I was like, that looks amazing. A mystery with the ancestors of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I was like, yes, surely this is going to be amazing. I found it in a secondhand bookshop, got it, was severely disappointed. I don't know why I was expecting so much from this, but I just didn't get it. I ended up giving this 2.5 stars, so it was just in the middle. I was expecting it to be more than it wasn't, and I was just a little disappointed. The next book I read was Blindside by Candy Steiner. I really enjoyed this book. Looking back on it, I think I probably should have given it a higher rating because I did give this a 3 stars, but all of 2023 I was trying to be really harsh with my ratings because previously I've been pretty easy with my high rated books and I wanted to be more harsh. So this got 3 stars, but I feel like it could have been like a 4. I really enjoyed it. It's a sports romance with fake dating. Next I read It Ends With Us, which was my first Colleen Hoover book and actually my first reading vlog here on my YouTube channel. I did not like this. And I thought I wouldn't like this because of the things that I'd heard about it and the fact that it's marketed as a romance when it's really not. Gave this 2.5 stars, was disappointed, probably will not pick up a Colleen Hoover again. Then I read Unnecessary Drama. This was an audiobook, absolutely loved it, 5 stars easily. Then by that same author I listened to another audiobook which was It Sounded Better in My Head. This I didn't like as much as Unnecessary Drama, but it was still enjoyable. I gave it a 3.5 stars. Then I read Cry Is War. I gave this a 3.75 stars. I really enjoyed this. It's like a sci-fi fantasy where robots are ruling the world and then humans are like their slaves. Kind of crazy, but really good. Then I read my first ever Lucy Score book, which was By a Thread. Didn't like it. The longest book I've ever read in my life. Not actually in page number, but it felt it because it was so slow. I didn't like the characters. I hated the nicknames they called each other. They were nearing 40 years old and they would call each other Maleficent and Charming, like Prince Charming. Ugh. It made me, my skin was crawling, I hated it. So I ended up giving that a 2.25 stars. Then I read Ironheart, which is the last in the Cry Is War duology. And I really liked this. I liked it more than Cry Is War. Ended up giving it 4.25 stars. And I loved the resolution to this story. So good. Then I read The Hobbit, which was fun. I was expecting it to be rather boring, but I actually surprisingly liked it. I ended up giving it a 4 stars. And I probably would have rated it higher except for the fact that the chapters were so long. I was reading it on my Kindle, so you know when it has chapter length in minutes. Each chapter was 50 minutes, over an hour. It stressed me out. I hate long chapters, so that was the only thing that I didn't like, but I loved the storyline. So much fun. Really enjoyed it. Then I read Blackout, which is by a variety of authors. We've got 6 authors here, and this was really good. It followed these teens in New York City during a blackout. So it was like an anthology. We had interconnected short stories, and so they all were related to each other, either friends, cousins, or siblings of each of the characters, and it was just so great. And I love a New York City setting in general, but I really enjoyed seeing it in a blackout and all the things that happened in this blackout. So I ended up giving this a 4 stars. And because I really enjoyed that book, I read the second book that's in this kind of series, which was called Wired Out, which kind of follows the same kind of deal, same authors, and it's interconnected stories, but during a blizzard of sorts. What do you call it? They're snowed in. I don't really know the terms because I don't live in an area where it snows. But yeah, that was also really fun to see because again, I don't live where it snows, so I didn't know any of the things that were going on. I was like, oh, stuff's happening. But again, these people were all connected. I didn't like it as much as Blackout because I didn't love the characters as much. I ended up giving this a 3 stars. Next I read Crave, and I really enjoyed this. This is a guilty pleasure book for me. I haven't read the rest of the series yet. It is a 6-book series. It's really long, but it's a vampire book. There's a supernatural boarding school. So much fun. It's so cheesy. but I really liked it. And I ended up giving this a 4 stars. Why is it so hard to try and find books? Where have I put it? Hello? Oh my gosh, I'm lost. I obviously need to reorganize again. Where have I put this book? You should see me in a crown. I rated this a 3.25 stars. It was cute. I don't actually remember a whole lot of what happened in it. I think she was like wanting to be prom queen so she could get a scholarship. I don't actually really remember. I remember enjoying it at the time, but it didn't really stick with me. Then I read Mystical Adventure of Ashley Sprinkler. This is a middle grade. I really did not like this. It was not good. I didn't like it. Then we have I Have Some Questions For You, which is like a dark academia. Our main character, she's like a reporter now, and she goes back to her old boarding school where a murder happened when she was in the school, and she believes that the person that got convicted didn't commit the crime, so she's trying to prove that, and it goes through that whole journey. I found it quite interesting. I gave it a 3.5 stars. Next I read Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh. This is my first book from her. It was strange. I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't that. It was so weird. Some of the things that were said in that book, I was like, oh gosh. I gave this a 3 stars. I don't even know how you can describe it. What kind of book is that? I think I saw that it was like speculative fiction. Is that what you call it? It says it's a magical realism. I don't know. It was weird. It was really weird. Then I read The City We Became. I gave this a 3 stars. I really enjoyed this. It's a sci-fi in New York City where the main characters are like the physical manifestations of the boroughs of New York. So we have like Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and all of the Staten Island. Is it 5? Yeah, and then there was like a 6th one of New York overall. And it was just really interesting. And they were like fighting this alien type creature. There's a second book which I haven't read yet, but I'm really excited to because that was like crazy. But I really enjoyed it. It took some getting used to in the beginning because I'm not really used to sci-fi, and that was like a confusing storyline, but once I got into it, really enjoyed it. But next we have Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. This is a cozy mystery. Absolutely loved it. I love the books that this author does. I've only read 3 now, but she wrote the Dial A for Auntie series, which I loved. So I was like really expecting great things from this, and it didn't disappoint. It was so cute. It's about Vera who finds a dead body in her tea shop, and she tries to like get all the suspects together to solve the murder, and it's kind of like a found family along the way. I gave this a 4 stars. Then we have Little Bird, which is a mafia romance, which I don't actually really read mafia romance. It was interesting, let me just say that. It was different. I gave it a 2.75 stars. Then we have The Running Club by Ali Lowe. And this is like a murder mystery slash thriller about rich Sydney mums. However, there is not a town called Esperance in Sydney. I think there is like an Esperance in Western Australia, but I don't know that there is one in Sydney. So we've got a fictional town in Sydney. Interesting. That's the only thing that I was like, what? Why? Weird. Besides that, this was actually really interesting. And we do get chapters from like most of the main characters from their perspectives, and we also get chapters in the past from our murder victim, and it all just like unravels, and it's so good. Really enjoyed it. 4 stars. Then we have An Incarnation of Shadow and Light. This is really heavy because I don't know the paper this was printed on. It's thick. It's like a brick. This was independently published. I did get sent this by the author, and I was so excited about it because it sounded so good. It's got like a magic system based off like the sun and the moon. It was really good, and it had pictures in it of the characters. Very interesting storyline, and I did like find some similarities with other fantasy books. It did kind of give like Grishaverse vibes, and I'm a big fan of the Grishaverse, so I did like kind of notice it a bit more. But I did give this a 3 stars, and I really enjoyed having the perspectives of multiple characters. Then we have Crushing by Genevieve Novak, and I loved this book. I really liked Genevieve's writing. I rated her other book that she did in 2022, No Hard Feelings. That was also 5 stars. This was also 5 stars, clearly, because it was really good. And she's an Australian author based in Melbourne, so that's where her books are set as well. I really liked it. And I feel like it's always so hard to explain what it's about because it's just like a contemporary book, but it's just so well written and the characters feel so real, so I really enjoyed this 5 stars. Yes. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray. This was for like my Rory Gilmore reading challenge. I really enjoyed this. This was my favourite of the 3 books that I read for that challenge, which you will see the other 2 because I did read them back to back. But Picture of Dorian Gray, it's like a gothic horror classic. I wouldn't consider it a horror, but it is considered a horror, like in the genre on Goodreads. I was scared of reading it for the longest time because I do get scared of classics, but this one, well worth it. Really enjoyed it. I think, what did I give this? I gave it a 4 stars. Then I read The Lovely Bones. It was interesting. It was like hard to read content wise because obviously like the way she died and everything, crazy. And I did think that I would like it more than I did. I was just like a little shocked on how like graphic the murder was. It was interesting. I gave it a 2.75 stars. Then I read The Crucible by Arthur Miller. This is a play. I didn't like it. It's like about like the witch trials, I guess you could say. It was pretty average, honestly. Like I know people like read it for school and they do their essays on it, and I guess you could like write about a lot, but I just thought it was meh, you know? Oh, yeah, I'm looking at my Goodreads review right now. And I said, I thought this was okay, that's all. I actually did fall asleep during it. Yes, when I was reading this, I've never actually fallen asleep reading before. I fell asleep. I was literally knocked out from this book. Boring. 2.25 stars. Probably should have rated it lower, honestly. Then I read The Poppy War. I need to buy myself a physical copy because I loved this book. I read it on my Kindle. 5 stars I gave it. It was so good. Like such a great fantasy. Definitely recommend looking up trigger warnings because it is really graphic in the war crimes. But it's like magical. We've got a school where they learn fighting and all that. Then there's a war and it's crazy. I need to finish this series. Blood Debts. Absolutely love this cover. This was a great book. I really enjoyed it. It's a fantasy set in New Orleans, however you want to say it, because I'm not American, I don't know. Blood Debts. It's like if royals lived in New Orleans and there were witches and there were royals, as I said, and it was just like really interesting. Really enjoyed it. What did I rate this? 3.5 stars. I believe this is going to be a series and I'm very excited for the rest. Then I read a middle grade, which was The Sideways Orbit of Evie Hart. I gave this a 3 stars. I thought it was okay. It's like a contemporary about Evie who's like in year 6 and she's dealing with changes because her parents are separating and obviously she's going to high school soon. So it's all about that. But then she's also learning about the solar system and she kind of like weaves in the story with the planets and the meanings of the planets and all that, and her mum's like an astrologer. I don't know. It was interesting. I liked it. 3 stars, as I said. Love the cover though. How cute is it? Then, oh my gosh, going to the fantasy favourites shelf to get this one. Bitterthorn. I loved this book and I don't know why I only rated it 4 stars, which isn't a bad rating. 4 stars is obviously really good, but the amount of times that I talk about this book, you would think it would be higher. So maybe it should be higher. But I really liked this. The magic system was like really unique. I can't really describe what it is because I feel like that will spoil the story because it's kind of revealed at the end what the magic is. But it's about our main character who sacrifices herself on behalf of the town to go live with this witch in the forest because she usually comes down like every 50 or so years to steal a man from the town. So she's like, okay, well, I'll just go so no one else gets taken. And yeah, really good. Really enjoyed it. Then I read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief because obviously I've been excited for the show, which I have been watching. I'm actually 1 episode behind because it was Wednesday yesterday and I went to see Mean Girls, the musical movie, at the cinema. It was, oh my gosh. Look, I'm not supposed to be talking about this right now because obviously I'm talking about books right now, but that movie, I enjoyed it. They cut some of my favourite songs though. Very disappointed in that. Very disappointed in the audience because everyone would groan when a song would start playing. I was like, guys, you booked tickets to a musical movie. Expect the songs. What do you mean? Oh, another song. No, you booked the tickets. Do your research first maybe? I don't know. I feel like I can't go to the cinema anymore because I hate people that talk. And the amount of people that were talking about theatre, I don't even want to talk about it, it's making me angry. But what was I even saying? Oh yeah, I read Percy Jackson. Okay, read Percy Jackson. I enjoyed this. I read it on an audiobook, so I feel like if I was reading in physical, I probably would have had a better reading experience. I think I gave it like a 4 stars, and I feel like I need to read the rest of the series as well. Then I read Lockwood & Co., The Screaming Staircase. I gave this a 5 stars because obviously loved the show, needed more content because they cancelled the show. So I read the book, loved the book. It was really good. Don't know what you want me to say. It's a ghost story. We've got teenagers fighting ghosts. Yes, 5 stars. And then I read another middle grade because I am going to be a primary school teacher. I'm literally half a teacher, halfway through my education course, so I need to collect my middle grade books so that I can have them in my classroom. So I did read this. This is like, I think it's like a third in a series about this girl named Ming, and she like travels through time somewhat and like learns about history. So this one is called Ming and Hilda Lead a Revolution, and it's set in Australia, and it was interesting. Sure, it was talking about like the wool trade and sheep and stuff in South Australia. Interesting. But yeah, I did find like some issues with it. So I gave it a 3 stars, but I liked it. I feel like it'd be a good addition to the classroom. Then I read Spy Family Volume 1. I love Spy Family. I do. I really like this. I'm so glad that I started reading this series. I actually gave the first one though a 4.5 stars because I was like, it could probably only go up from here. I don't want to like give it too high rating, but really I would rate all of them a 5 stars because I did enjoy them all. Then I read King of Wrath, which was my first Anna Huang book. I did give it a 4 stars. I liked it. Billionaires, hello. I love reading about rich people. It cut me off because obviously I've been recording for a long time, but King of Wrath. We've got an arranged marriage here, and like only one person in the marriage knew the reason for the marriage. There was like blackmail involved. It was interesting. The rich people problems. I just love to read about it. So much drama. Then I read the second book in the Lockwood & Co. series, which was The Whispering Skull, and this is like the last book that I did know that was happening in that series because the first season of the TV show follows the storylines of the first 2 books. So I did know this kind of storyline. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I really liked it. Again, disappointed that they cancelled the show. Now we're getting into the time where I did my cozy fantasy reading vlog. The first one I read was Legends and Lattes because I feel like this is the first book that everyone thinks of when they think of cozy fantasy. It was so popular and I can see why, but I just didn't love it as much. I mean, the descriptions of all the food were great. I really wanted a cinnamon roll while I was reading this, and I liked it. It was really cute, but I just feel like it was missing some of like the action that I needed, and I guess that's what you're sacrificing if you're wanting a cozier fantasy. I ended up giving this a 3.75 stars, and that's not a bad rating. Obviously really enjoyed it, but I was just expecting so much more. Like, I thought this would be a 5-star book. It was just a 3.75. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which if you know that I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. It was so easy to give this book a 5-star rating. It's about a witch who gets an offer to like tutor these 3 young witches in this house called Nowhere House. It's got a found family. It's got a cute romance with a librarian in the house. I love it. I love it. It's so good. I'm so excited for this author's next release, which is called A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. That also looks so cute, and I just cannot wait for that because I loved this so much. It was the cutest thing. Then I read The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels, which cozy fantasy once again, with great humour. It's set in like Regency era England. We have pirates with flying houses. Really like this, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. They're just waiting for me here, and I'm excited for the day when I finally have the time to pick those up because yeah, that was so good. Loved it. 5 stars, if I didn't already say. Then I read Spy Family Volume 2. I gave this a 5 stars. Don't really know what to say because I feel like all the volumes kind of mushed into one for me now, and I just see it as the one story, so I can't separate the storylines to each one. I'm just going to chunk them all together. I'm going to say they're all 5 stars, even though I didn't rate them all 5 stars, but yes. Then we have King of Pride, which is the second in the Kings of Sin series. I didn't like it as much as King of Wrath. Again, we have our rich people, which was fun to see, but I don't know, there was something off about this book specifically that was like missing the vibes of King of Wrath. I gave this a 3 stars. Like, I still liked it, but it was just different to what I was expecting it to be, because I had heard people say that they liked this the best. That's not how I felt. I definitely liked King of Wrath more. This is the way the world ends. I gave this a 2 stars. It was like end of the world, somewhat like conspiracy theory. I don't really know what was happening, nor do I care really. It's like for fans of One of Us is Lying, but it didn't really give that. I don't know, I just didn't really like the characters. Oh, I don't know. I was confused. Didn't love it. Ooh, next we have Death of a Bookseller, which I gave 4 stars. I really liked this. It was so strange, so interesting. It was a thriller and it follows like 2 main characters when we see perspectives from both of them. One of our main characters, her name is Roach, which is weird, like a cockroach, yes. She is like obsessed with true crime. And it does a really good job of showing how that obsession can like turn into kind of creepiness. She turns into a stalker. Then we have our other main character who is the stalkee. She gets stalked by Roach. They both work at the same bookshop. It's very interesting. The ending is kind of like somewhat open-ended, but like you also kind of know what probably happened. Oh, it was so weird, but I loved it. Kind of creepy seeing how stalkery Roach is, but really good. Then we have A Curse of Soul, which I literally forgot I read this, but I actually quite enjoyed it. It's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling with like a pirate, and they're on like this huge ship, which was so well described. I want to go on that ship. It was so good. Obviously, we all know the story of Beauty and the Beast, so you can kind of tell how that goes. Our main character, she kind of got captured by the captain of the ship, and we know what happens from there, don't we? But I gave this a 4 stars. Next, we have Die For You by Lauren Jackson. I gave this a 4.5 stars. It's like a vampire romance. Our main character is trying to find her sister, who was believed to be dead, but like she has a feeling that her sister's alive. And then she like researches vampires and she hates vampires, but then she falls in love with one. So, Die For You. Loved it. This is going to be a series and I cannot wait for the sequel. It's coming out this year. Then we have Sing Me to Sleep by Gabby Burton. This follows like a siren in a world where sirens are like not supposed to exist. But then she like hides her identity and pretends to be like a soldier for the royals, the royals who hate the sirens, and it's just like very interesting. It says on the back, a duty to protect, a desire to kill, an impossible love, and enemies to lovers. This is also going to be a series. I don't know when the sequel's coming out, but I did really enjoy this. I believe this was a debut by this author. I think this was her first book, so I really liked it. I think, what did I give this? I gave this a 4.25 stars. Very enjoyable. I like mermaids and sirens, what can I say? I was obsessed with H2O when I was younger. Then I read the first novella in the Loathe to Love You bind-up I read, which was it called? Under One Roof. I liked it, but obviously because it's a novella, it all moves like really quickly and the pacing can seem a little interesting at some points. We're like, oh, okay. I am looking forward to reading like the rest of these. I've got 2 more to go, and I gave this one a 4 stars, so I'm interested to see how the rest will go. But I believe each of the novellas in this follow like friends. We've got 3 friends and then their respective romances in each of the short stories. Then, oh my gosh, where is it? Aha. Fourth Wing. I did a reading vlog on this. We all know my thoughts. 5 stars. Absolutely loved it like everyone else in the world. So good. Dragons and all sorts, and it was great. What do you want me to say? Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I didn't like this as much as the first 2 Harry Potter books because it featured a lot of Quidditch and I didn't actually care. So I gave this a 3.5 stars. I gave the other 2 a 5 stars. I haven't read the rest of the series yet. This is all I'm up to. I need to read Goblet of Fire, but it's scaring me of how thick it is. We're getting to the good one. We've got Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I love this book. I think it might be my favourite Ali Hazelwood. I gave this a 5 stars. It follows physicists I don't know anything about physics, but I loved this book, and I do know that. Then I read Spy Families Volume 3 and 4, and I gave those 4 stars and 5 stars. Then I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book because I loved it so much. I gave it a 5 stars. Was I scared? I don't know. I love Daisy Jones and the Six, so it's not like I was concerned about the writing or anything, but it was so good. Loved it. Then I read The Outsider, which I borrowed from the library, had a terrible reading experience with it because there was a booger smeared on the pages. That's not the only reason why I didn't like the book though, because the actual content itself was not great. I gave it a 2 stars. Ew. Then I read We Are Okay. I also borrowed this from the library. It was okay. It was kind of boring in places. It was a bit slow. I gave it a 3 stars. Then I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I gave this a 4.5 stars. Absolutely loved it. I love Charlie Lastra. Then I read My Fault because I really wanted to watch the movie. I did read and watch the movie. I liked it. I gave it a 3 stars. I did try and read Your Fault though, because I had it on reserve at the library for when it would come out in the digital format. I read 4 chapters and then I DNF'd it. Anyway, I stopped reading that because I wanted to read other books, so I don't know when I will continue this series, but yeah, that one was a 3 stars. Then I read Queen Charlotte and I gave this a 3.75 stars. I listened to it on audiobook and I really liked it. I loved the TV show, so I was like, I need to read the book as well, but they were very, very similar, so I was like, I'm not getting anything new that I didn't get in the show, so that's why it was only a 3.75. Then I read The Changing Man, which is a young adult speculative fiction. Is that where I can use this term? Is it, or is this a magical realism? What's the difference between those 2 genres? Is it the same thing? I don't know. It's got sci-fi elements, I guess, and it's in a boarding school, and it was interesting, but not as good as I thought it would be. Some of the things that were said were just a bit trying too much to fit into teenager slang, so it just felt a bit awkward. So I did give this a 2.5 stars. Then I read Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is a Formula One sports romance. I didn't like either of the main characters really. I listened to it on audiobook, and the accents that the female main character audio lady would do were just kind of embarrassing. Obviously she would read for the other people's lines, and there was this German character, so she would try and do a German accent when she was reading for his lines in the girl's perspective. And I was like, oh no, I didn't love that. I ended up giving this a 2.5 stars because the main characters were a bit annoying. Then I read 19 Steps by Millie Bobby Brown. I do have a reading vlog on this. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. It did elicit some emotions because obviously it's a war book. I don't often read war books because how terribly sad. I don't love that. So there were tears, but it wasn't the best book ever written. I did give this a 3 stars. Then I read Spy Family Volume 5, which I gave a 4 stars. And then next, I read Bright Young Women, which I gave a 3.75 stars. This is fiction, but based off real events, which is what confused me because I thought it was solely a fiction book. Come to find at the end that it was based on a real serial killer because it was Ted Bundy. I didn't want to be reading something that was real, so then I went on this whole tangent thing online looking up did all this happen, and yes, Ted Bundy did kill people in a sorority house, and I was felt really icky afterwards. I don't know, I didn't expect to be reading a true crime. Something is wrong with me because I can't read, obviously, because it does say on the back, Bright Young Women is an extraordinary novel inspired by the real-life sorority targeted by America's first celebrity serial killer in his final murderous spree. I am blind, or obviously can't read, because I didn't know that, and it was stressed me out a lot. At the end, I was terrified. I was. Ugh, gross. Don't like Ted Bundy, but this book was interesting. 3.75 stars. Then I read Spy Family Volume 6. This was a 4 stars. I feel like I don't know what to say for all the Spy Families because again, they literally mush into one. Then I read If We Ever Meet Again. This is the first book in the If Love series, which is the first series that Anna Huang did before the Twisted series, which I haven't actually read yet. But gave this a 2 stars. I did not like it because when the main characters broke up, That's a spoiler. Is it? Look, I don't know. It was boring. Like, I could tell what was happening. The plot twist that happened, like, I was like, there's clearly a solution to this. Just talk to each other. I hate miscommunication. And then I read the second book, which is called If the Sun Never Sets, and then the plot twist, that was like, it's supposed to be the plot twist, so I was like, yeah, that was pretty obvious. Why did you not see this coming? So, yeah, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy that. I gave that a 3 stars. It was better than the first, but it wasn't great. Starling House, which was so good. It was like a gothic fantasy with a sentient house. It was so magical. Loved all the descriptions. It had pictures in it too, which was super fun. I gave this a 4 stars. Then I read another gothic fantasy, which was called Unholy Terrors. This one was like an enemies to lovers, but like with like somewhat a monster. And I quite liked, again, the descriptions of this, but I remember feeling like the pacing was a bit on the slower side, and I do appreciate a fast-paced book, which I don't think this was, so I gave it a 3 stars. The story was interesting, and I really enjoyed the ending. Then I read A Holly Jolly Ever After, which was a Christmas book. I gave this a 4 stars. It was cute, followed these characters filming a movie, and then they fall in love, and they're co-stars. Yay, Christmas! Then we have the third book in the Lockwood & Co series. This one's called The Hollow Boy. I gave this a 3.75 stars. I liked it. There was a new character introduced, which changed the dynamics a bit, which I thought was crazy. So I'm excited to see how it works out now that everyone's all used to this new character in the next book. So I'm looking forward to finishing that series. Then I read Spy Family Volumes 7 and 8, and I think these are the last volumes I read of the year. And I gave them a 4 stars and a 5 stars. Then we have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I loved this. I loved The Hunger Games, and I loved this book just as much because it follows President Snow when he was a teenager, and we get to see his journey of how he turned into the person that we all knew from The Hunger Games. So it was absolutely crazy. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the movie as well. But I feel like the movie missed out on so much that the book had. I gave this a 4.75 stars. Really enjoyed it, but it definitely had a lot more detail than the movie did. Disappointed though that I got this copy. I should have waited a little while longer so that I could get the movie tie-in edition, because that would have matched my other Hunger Games books better, because like they're all black and I have just a neon green spine next to it. Anywho, besides that, amazing book. Then I have Kiss Her Once for Me, which I did listen to on audio. I didn't love it. It was cute. It was a Christmas book, but it was just okay. 3 stars. Then I read Love Like Farms, another Christmas book, another one that I listened to on audio. 4.5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Follows these characters that are like best friends, and then there's fake dating so that they can like enter this competition to like save the Christmas tree farm. And it was just so good. Friends loves fake dating. What more do you want? Then we have another Christmas book, which is over here. Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. This one is set in New York City in Christmas time, which was so fun to see. We have our main characters who are the children of this singing duo. So we have the daughter of one of them and then the son of another one, and then they like team up to try and get their mums to do like a reunion for Christmas Eve. And then they have like a reality TV show on their journey of trying to get their parents to reunite, and they fall in love, and it was really good. And I ended up giving this a 3.75 stars. Quite liked it, except for the fact that their names were Beat and Melody. What is that? No. Then I read The Selection and the Elite by Kira Cass. This one I gave a 4 stars, and this one I gave a 3 stars. It's the dystopian Bachelor, where the prince has all these girls like compete in basically The Bachelor to pick his wife. The first one I liked better because it just like felt more fun. This one, it was like getting too serious, and I was like, come on guys, you're in the Royal Bachelor, it's not that serious. I mean, I guess it would be, but the fact that it's a Royal Bachelor to me was like so unserious, but they were like taking it seriously. I have the third one, which I haven't read yet, but it's called The One, and she's in a white dress, so I'm assuming she wins this Royal Bachelor. Then I read How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly. Let me just say that was absolutely crazy. I could not predict any single plot point that showed up. There were so many twists and I thought I was going to lose my mind. I gave this, what did I give this? A 4 stars. I'm excited for the next book. I don't know when it's going to come out, but it was so crazy. The plot twists on plot twists. Literally could not predict a thing. So good. And then I read the Taylor Swift Little Golden book because I did get this for Christmas and it was so cute. It's like 25 pages or something and the illustrations were great. Like, look at that. Love it. The only problem though is like it doesn't open very far. Like, that's it. That's as far as it goes and it feels like it's gonna snap. Anywho, very cute. Gave it 5 stars. Because I love Taylor Swift. Then the last book that I read in 2023 is actually a 2024 release because I got an ARC copy. It's The Crimson Moth. Already talked about this a couple times. Absolutely loved it. Enemies to lovers with a witch and a witch hunter. Oh, it was just so good. Like, I can't wait for it to come out in February so everyone else can read this. I hope they all love it as much as I do because it was so good and I liked the characters, I liked all the plot points, and there was like a plot twist that I did predict, but I really liked how that played out, so I was like okay with it that I predicted it. But so good. Those are my 80 books of the year. I hope you enjoyed seeing my thoughts on all the books that I read this year. I read a lot. I'm actually surprised. I feel like every single year I end up reading more books than the last year, so I'm interested to see how many I read in 2024. But that was 2023, all done. I would love to know if you also read any of the books that I read this year, and I would love to know your thoughts on them as well, so don't forget to put them down in the comments. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below so you do not miss any new videos from me. I do post new videos every single Saturday, but I have been posting more frequently recently, so you do want to stick around. Make sure you press that notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads. But that is it. Thanks again for watching and I will see you next time. Goodbye!